Good morning and welcome back to another edition of Research Fantasy presents our MLB DFS pitcher picks for Monday, May 29th, 2017. First and foremost, thank you to all of those out there who served in our military, especially to those who gave and paid the ultimate price of their lives for our freedom. We thank you very much. Hope everybody has a great day. For baseball fans, this is one of the best days of the year because not only can you enjoy time spent with your family, but you can also enjoy baseball day. Always a plus. The Memorial Day, 4th of July, and those are the big baseball days for me at least, just like Christmas is with basketball. So let's not waste any time. I'm not necessarily making a concerted effort to make sure that these picks are on both slates. I'm just focusing on purely who I would consider in my cash games and tournaments tonight. Let's start things off with Martin Perez of the Texas Rangers going up against the Tampa Bay Rays. 13-2 on Fantasy Draft, 7-3 FanDuel, 6,700 on DraftKings. Typically, when I hear the name Martin Perez, I shudder with fear about the thought of using him and immediately gravitate towards finding bats to use against him. But he's been serviceable. He hasn't been great necessarily, but he hasn't been poor. He has two good outings against Oakland and Philadelphia, and he's got a couple other fair outings sprinkled in there as well. And actually, he's about 55% quality start versus 45% non. It's not really awful. I know Perez is a guy we kind of go after, but he's the ultimate boom bust play tonight because he's taking on a Rays team that's striking out almost 30% against left-handed pitching. Their WOBA is actually really low. Their ISO is below league average, but the hard hit, I believe, floats near 40%. So it's a tough call. I did go this route the other night with Hector Santiago, and for the most part, if he would have been able to actually get through innings, which is something I could potentially see Perez having some issues with as well, he might have had a better score. Now, Perez, as of late, hasn't pitched less than 6 innings in his last 4 games. Not a big strikeout arm, but the inflated strikeout rate of Tampa Bay can certainly get you a few extra Ks. What I'm expecting here would be something of the nature of maybe 6 or 7 strikeouts, 6 or 7 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, a win, and a quality start. I think that would be an ideal performance for Perez tonight. Let's move on from there, and let me just say if Mike Trout is out, I do kind of like Julio Teheran. I know he hasn't been great, but 40-point outings in 2 of his last 3. Yes, there was a big negative number thrown in the middle of that, but you gotta believe his skill set is going to turn at some point, and with lefties being the big question mark for him, and looking through the Angels lineup and just not really seeing anything threatening, you gotta give a little consideration. How about Kyle Hendricks hitting the road to take on the San Diego Padres? Hendricks is 18-4 on Fantasy Draft, 9-4 on FanDuel, 9,600 on DraftKings. I mean, yeah, I do kind of feel like he's a little bit overpriced. And the scary thing is I think he's been the most consistent of the Cubs pitchers thus far this year, which is not saying a good thing. So what do we really want to say about Hendricks? He's not necessarily a big strikeout arm. He's been getting much like Martin Perez over his last 3. He's had over 6 innings. Highest he was able to go was 7 strikeouts. Not a horrible choice here. The Padres, we know, are just an awful team. But they've got enough guys in there that can make Hendricks work for it. But I think he may be a pivot just because I'm assuming there's other people like me who are going to see that price, look at what the output has been, and just say there's no validation other than the fact that he's taking on the Padres. I think he's a risk even taking on the Padres, but you have to have a risk to have reward in tournament play. Lastly is another guy who's a high-risk play and pretty much summarizes exactly what the Indians' pitching has been all year. Highly inconsistent and frustrating. Let's talk Carlos Carrasco. 18K on Fantasy Draft, 10-3 on FanDuel, 9-3 on DraftKings at home taking on the Oakland Athletics. We just watched the Athletics be decimated by the Yankees pitching this weekend, well, except for Michael Pineda, because we can't expect the actual high strikeout guy to get the strikeouts. It's got to be the other guys, because naturally it's baseball. But there's no reason Carrasco should not be able to deal with this Athletics lineup. Yes, their stats don't check out very well. They have a pretty decent ISO. They have a pretty high hard hit percent against right-handed pitching. But Carrasco has, I think he's got one of the higher K9s on the day. Hasn't necessarily shown it this year. We're not getting the double-digit strikeouts, but he hasn't gone below 5. And that includes a 3-inning game where he did strike out 6 Rays. The struggles have definitely been there in back-to-back games. The control has been everywhere. He just has not been able to get it done. But I'm going back to the well tonight, and I believe his performance is going to turn around. And as far as tournaments go, this is exactly the guy we want. There are very few, if any, guys on the slate who can put up numbers like his at the end of the day, so I'll have some exposure to him. Once again, our top 3 tournament arms today: Martin Perez, Kyle Hendricks, Carlos Carrasco. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Go over to Facebook, like us at Research Fantasy, follow us on Twitter at Research and Win, and join us again tomorrow.